the stream has ended, which it has, and I had no warning. So thank you, Milan, for telling me the stream has ended. So what a shame there, because it's a massive shame, unfortunately. I need to sort out because I got a brand new broadband, but I don't have an Ethernet cable. But apparently the internet is supposed to be like so much quicker and so much better. It is quick and it is better, but I don't know about streaming. I might have to get an Ethernet cable. So massive apologies about that one. Thank you for telling me, Milan. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. I had no notification whatsoever that it stopped.
Yeah, just saw it as I was in a stream on the side and just ended for some reason. But yeah, very unlucky. The internet hasn't been great for either of us tonight, so hopefully we experience some better luck in future races. But we're on lap 16 of 28, so still 13 laps to go. Will be 12 once person lead crosses the line to go on to lap 17. He's still in the lead of the races. Having some lag in this session as well, as Emils ran off wide there, but he didn't in fact. So the top two, they have got a gap of 6.5 seconds toward Alescope as Milnes gets ahead of Stiak, who is pulling into the pit lane in the replay end of laps 16 onto 17, and so is Serge in the Alpine. Hector Dance sets the fastest lap of the race. He has to be careful though with the start. Sends one up the inside though of turn 1. Great move there up the inside of Langshall. Hits the grass in fact on the inside. Is he going to be able to make it work? Because he's going to have the outside line for turn 3, but with the better traction, with the better grip, with the better tires, should be able to pull ahead on the exit, and I think he does as he fights it out with the Mercedes. Yes, he does. So is the other McLaren ahead now of Langfield? I'm not sure what's happening in this session, but big fighting out there for P5 in this race. With the next round still sat there in P7, so it's the Mercedes of Langfield in a McLaren sandwich, both McLarens with a different livery, as Rotorbrad is using the normal McLaren livery and Lectordani is using the Silverstone livery. So interesting to see both of them with a different livery in this race. Ahead of Gax in P8 in the Haas. He is on the hard. Dylan Vince in P9 on the exit. That's the one. He's out of the race. Dylan Vince on the exit of turn 10 has crashed out and the safety car has been deployed.
For the first time in this race, a safety car has been deployed. There it is through turn 1 and turn 2. This completely changes the strategy now, and 11 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. I think that people will go, oh, Stangos has got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. But I think these people will now pit onto the medium compound tyres. Let's see if they do or not. Surely it's a no-brainer to pit this lap. It is. And they're going to go on a set of new mediums or set of hard compound tyres. And here we go then. Dive into the pit lane. Has this put anybody at disadvantage or advantage? I dare say the top two, because they had a massive gap and the field we've brought back together. If you remember the first lap, they got separated, those guys, from second to third place, because they had a massive ball going down in towards the hairpin, and on the first lap too. That's why they got detached from the DRS, and in Mills is on the hard compound tyres. That's new hards for Mills and the President leads. So this tells me that they've gone for the harder strategy, which means you get two sets of soft compound tyres, 2 sets of mediums, and 2 sets of the hard compound tyres. So new hards there for those two. Alice Copo's got for hards as well. Martin, it's benefited him a lot. He's up. He's catapulted up into P4. His strategy has worked as well. But bearing in mind the guys behind, Stank's retired in the pit lane, so he's out of the race, unfortunately, after a horrible race. And Klausler has got a 10-second penalty for making contact with Pabelli. That's down at the hairpin, so I'm not quite sure what those two have got up to. But Klaus has had a horrible race ever since the first lap, where he literally smashed into the side of somebody in that one in towards turn 11, I think it was. So his race went from bad to worse for the Dutchman as they head back in the pit lane to get on a new set of mediums or hard compound tyres. But now, situation is though, it is Alice Cooper, Mills and Presley still leading, but their lead has been wiped out. These two have been together since the whole race and built up so big an advantage they can stretch their legs and pull away from the rest of the field. But now it's been brought down. People in the mini compound tyres behind will have a huge advantage as well. They'll have better grip than the guys ahead, so I wonder, could they be a threat in this race? We've seen all about the top G's pace and Electro Dan's pace, and Electro Dan has been overtaken by his teammate too after he started down out of the top 10. So all about the top G's pace has been absolutely sensational. He's in P6 and has a good chance of fight to be on the podium too, or maybe challenging for the race win, considering how good his pace has been. And he's on the same medium compound tyres too, so watch out for him. Watch out for anybody. This could be an interesting race towards in the Grand Prix. There's 10 laps to go in this race, and your race leader is still President Leeds, going for his first win of the season and first win here in Division 2. Can he get it? And Mills is going for his second win of season 2, plus trying to extend his championship gap over the rest of the guys as well in the standings.
Interesting though, the top 3 on the hard. So you think the drives behind it will have the tire advantage. Although Martin, he has stayed out on his medium, so his mediums are 2 laps old. So he will be struggling towards the end of the race as well. But Melnis is going to have a great chance potentially to go for the podium, because his mediums will be much quicker, at least in the first few laps after the safety car restart. I reckon the hards will be quicker on the final few laps, but it's going to be interesting for sure. With a lot of drivers out there on the mediums, and the top 3 then on the hards, and Langveld as well on the Mercedes, he's also on the hards, and Danny Boy in P13, the rest of them all on the mediums. So it's going to be a very interesting restart. We're going to have to wait for Propelli and Cluster to close that gap back up, so we should be potentially have a restart at the end of this lap, which will mean that we are going to have 9 laps of racing for so it's going to be a sprint race then towards the end. And is present lead going to be able to maintain his lead? He's been fighting it out with Emils for the entirety of this race. They have been left alone since lap 1, but now they have been brought back with the field behind them as well. And is Atlas Coppo going to be able to do anything? Because his pace in the first stint was actually quite good and quite similar to the top 2 ahead. So let's see if he's going to be able to replicate it as well after the safety car restart, and potentially have a go at maybe a second place or a victory if it gets really crazy out there between the top 2. So anything can happen at the safety car restart, but it is going to be very entertaining, that must be said. And what can the medium runners do to potentially charge through for a potential podium finish as well? So it's going to be tight. It's going to be, it might be chaotic, but it is going to be a great sprint race. 9 laps to the end of the race. I think we're going to go in at the end of the lap.
2024 was a good sprint race there between Carlos Sainz, Alonso and Perez too, and Verstappen took the victory as well. Hamilton was leading for that 9 laps there. Verstappen took the win because obviously that Red Bull car was still in good shape and fine and form. But here we go then, the safety car is in at the end of this lap. What's going to happen towards the Grand Prix? Is going to be any more drama, any more contact, any more carnage? We're about to find out as well. Safety cars always put something special this race. It always galvanizes a race, does the safety car, as these drivers ahead of us then again the extra bit of tire temperature in their tires. The threat is right behind them, so it looks like President Elite and Emils might be uncomfortable as well with the guys right behind on medium compound tires, so they're going to watch out for them as we come to a call as well. I remember Lawrence Stroll hit the back of Daniel Ricciardo on the safety car too. Was it 20? Yeah, it was 2024 because that was Ricciardo's last season in F1. Oh, President Elite almost chopped it out of the exit turn 14 there as he had a massive slide. As here we go then for the final few laps of the Grand Prix. It's President Elite who crosses the line. There is 8 laps left to go in this race, and so far Elite leads the Grand Prix ahead of Emils in P2. Is the medium compound runners going to make an impression immediately as we head down in towards turn 1? Any bit close enough to make a move? Not yet for the time being though, but they will have to grip in the early stages there. Look at Melnis right to the back of Ferrari. He hit the back of it, but he almost sent it into a spin. Luckily not on that occasion, but look at this, better grip. Look at that, he has more confidence. The corners is so tight through turn 3 and turn 4, puts the Ferrari under massive pressure as we head down in towards turn 6. It's a move, is it? It is, up the inside in towards turn 6, locks up the brakes there, makes contact with the side pod of the Ferrari driver, and Lord by the top G is also looking to take advantage too. As we go side by side in towards turn 7 we go, around the outside, what a move. Melnis is up into P4, great speed around the outside, he's up into 4th place, and now a podium for him could be necessary.
Could be on the cards with 8 laps to go. He does have to close the gap towards the top 3 because DRS will be enabled on the next lap. It's now 1.2 seconds. It is separating himself from Atlas Coppo in P3, but the top 3 have remained the same on those hards, and Atlas Coppo is able to maintain his gap towards the top 2 as well. Personally leads at the end of lap 20. He's got 0.5 of a second towards Emils. They both have used a bit of battery to break away from the cars behind him. Melnis is almost under 1 second. Martin is under a lot of pressure as Brad is almost pushing him on the back straight, and he's going to send one up the inside to the braking zone. It's the back down of Melnis who gets spun around as the McLaren is way too late on the brakes, and all the good work that Melnis has done at this restart becomes undone, and now the McLaren into the back, into the wall as well, making more contact. It's real chaotic on this lap. He's pulled into the pit lane. DRS has been enabled, but high drama there in the final sector, and Martin is back up into P4, although Melnis sends one up the inside, but the gap towards the top 3 is now 2 seconds, and any chance of podium finish is well and truly gone for the Mercedes driver as he slides out of turn 2.
Oh, what a shame there for Melnis. He's back up into P4, but obviously he's lost a little bit of time now towards the top 3. The top 3 are close together, but Brad sends it down the inside towards turn 14. It didn't pay off. Molnus must be so frustrated because he's lost loads of time to put it unnecessary wear in his tyres. Then Brad unfortunately got sandwiched in the middle and sent off into the wall. I thought for 1 second a safety car would have been deployed again when Brad smashed into the wall, but luckily no safety car this time because we want to see what happens towards the Grand Prix. Atlas Copo is barely clinging on to the DRS there with Mills and Elite. Mills and Elite have been glued together throughout the whole race, but it comes down towards the last few laps to see who wins the Grand Prix out of those two. Atlas Copo has actually lost the DRS, and he could be in trouble as well, because if he loses the DRS towards the back of those two, Mills might get closer too. The gap is 2.3 between Mills and Melnus in P3 and P4 there as well. Melnus looking for his second he's looking for his second point of the season as well after winning the Grand Prix earlier this season. I think back at the Belgian Grand Prix, was it, or Australia? I can't exactly remember. I'm not a Div 2 commentator no more, but as we head down in towards turn 14 we go. Here comes Langfell on the Ferrari, Danny inside in towards turn 14. It's a clean move, is it? Yeah, it is. Melnus and Martin gets shown the outside of the track there. Electro Dan is up into P6 as well. Later the brakes has cost him to go wide, and Electro Dan is now up into P6 inside. He's been in P6 majority of this Grand Prix as Electro Dan. That seems to be his favourite spot so far. That's P6 position as Danny Boy gets ahead of Scani. He's now up into P9. P10 is Lord Danny Boy. And it looks like Melnus is not really gaining on Atlas Copa. The gap's been the same since the last lap, so 2.1, 2.2, that kind of territory. He hasn't really caught up to him on those really compact tyres, so expecting more pace there from the Mercedes driver. Maybe he's trying to get into a rhythm, cut the tyres down, but I'm not quite sure. He's still got 6 left to go to try and catch him, but it might be a bit difficult. But Atlas Copa has been cemented, really, into P3 for the majority of the Grand Prix. He broke the DRS from Melnus and Co right behind too. Broke the DRS, it's been around 4 seconds the majority of the Grand Prix, so he's done a really good job to maintain that. And unfortunately, Lord by the top G is out of the race there, unfortunately, so he's out as both McLarens were on course to score some good points, but Lord by the top G caused a bit of carnage down towards turn 14, and his race has been sadly ended as well, and he's out of the Grand Prix. So 2 Red Bulls, McLaren's out of the race. Xenon is on a new set of soft compact tyres to go for the Fast Grand Prix. It's still a Mills versus Elite for first and second. Atlas Copo cannot catch up towards the back of Mills or versus Elite, and he's sadly been attached from the bottom for first and second there, but he's still at the podium, looking for his first podium of the season, and his first podium in a long time. I think his last podium was season 16, I'm quite sure. Here comes Gags on Martin. We haven't really talked about Gags that much, have we? He's up into P7 now, into the top 10. He's done a really good job so far. He started down in P11, so he's been a bit of known during this Grand Prix. He's been under the radar, it must be said, but doing a decent job, keeping himself out of trouble. Is the former Div 3 driver, and he's up into P7.
Yeah, doing a good job so far in this race. As Melnus, his gap towards Atlas Copa is 1.7 seconds, but he had that spin at the exit of turn 14, which wouldn't have done his rear tires any good, so he might already be struggling a little bit with the tires, which is why he has to be able to close the gap towards the top 3 on the hards yet in this race. And his teammate behind, Langfell, he's on the hard, so he will be quicker towards the end of the race in the final few laps. And it looks like he's just using his teammate right now, who seems to have quite some decent pace, and the gap is around 1.4 seconds. So Atlas Copa's podium still is under a little bit of threat, because Melnus seems to be quicker, at least in this stage, and he is gaining by a few tenths every single lap, which is going to add up. And Langfell is following him, and he is on the hards, and he will be able to maintain that pace towards the end of the race. So the battle for P2 definitely isn't over yet. Neither is the battle for P1 in this race, because Personal Elite and Mills are still stuck together, and like since lap 1 of this race. On lap 23 going on to lap 24, it's going to be 5 laps remaining, and Mills is still staying behind the Haas driver for now, but he has been struggling a little bit to stay within DRS range. The gap is 0.8 of a second again, and he has to use some battery to close that gap back down to under 1 second. Atlas Copa in P3, 1.4 seconds is the gap now towards the Mercedes driver. Make that 1.3 on the exit. Langfell following as there's all sorts of fighting in the background. Someone's going really wide. That is Scani in the hairpin, completely off track there. Not sure what happened to the Williams, as his teammate has a big moment out of the hairpin as well. It's been a really dramatic race so far for both of the Williams drivers, having separate incidents over the course of this race, both down in P11 and P12. And Scani with a 3-second time penalty as well, as Klusser gets past the Williams of Keys. And Klusser's now up to P12, who's had a very dramatic race himself as well. in this race. And Probelli in P14, but on the radar as well. He's down in P14. Hasn't really been able to show what he can do so far in this race. Stuck fighting at the back of the field, and Zenom in P15. Not sure why he pitted a few laps ago. He sets the fastest lap of the race, 134.8. He's on the softs, but he will finish it down in P14. But personal lead, the gap is 9/10 of a second, and almost very close to getting towards that 1 second. Is he going to be able to break away from Emils, I wonder? And it might be an anticlimax then for us in these final few laps. Although Emils is still desperately trying to stay close, and I think he's got DRS again going onto the back straight, so he will be safe again and close that gap down into the braking zone of the hairpin. It looks like Milner Stars are struggling right now. They're starting to fall off because the gap has fallen down to 1.6 seconds again, and he's not gaining time anymore towards Atlas Copus. So I do wonder when Langfeld is going to be able to get past and maybe chase after the Sauber. Although with only 5 laps to go, he is going to have to be he's going to be short on time. So Electrodan in the McLaren is close behind as well in the fight here for P4. And there's quite a significant gap towards Gags and P7 as they go almost with on the exit for P9 and P10. Bit of a train forming behind the Haas of Gags, and then it's Martin, who has been on the older stars of the grid. 9 laps he's done on this medium so far, still has to do 4 more, so 13 laps on mediums. I do wonder if he's gonna suffer some very high degradation in the final few laps. Currently down in P8 and holding on to a decent top 10 result.
Like getting our twitchy out turn 3 and turn 4, but yes, I do agree as well. Magnus just trying to get himself inside the DRS range. He'll be looking back, thinking about the incident down at turn 14 there. He could have been well and truly in that DRS zone by now. Langfeld, though, look at that, all sliding out turn 6, just wheel spinning almost off in towards the grass there. But luckily stays on the circuit. He's got Electrodan right behind him, so I'm surprised he's struggling on the hard compound tyres there, the hardest tyre compound as well. So he's struggling for traction there. Is Langfeld almost outside the DRS range of his own teammate too, as Molnus is trying everything he can to get himself inside the DRS range there of Atlas Copus, but can't quite seem to do so. Now, I do remember Atlas Copus get a podium, but it was season 16. Season 17 he had no podiums whatsoever to his name, which was quite surprising too. The gap's got to 2 seconds, the Ferrari spun. That is Probelli, who has sustained another spun, but Langfeld's now up into P4. I think Molnus had a big moment because he lost like 5-6 tenths at the exit of turn over 13, so suffering with massive oversteer there as Langfeld has been released up to P4. But I think Atlas Copus is cemented and secured into P3. I don't think nobody is going to be challenging him for the time being, as Martin is up into P7 ahead of Gags as well, as Gags looks like he got a better exit than the Ferrari driver, but not going to go alongside him in towards the final corner, which is not the right thing to do. Danny Boy is ahead, as somebody else is spun in the background too. That is Serge who's gone for a spin, I think it was him. I'm not quite sure. Was it him?
Yeah, on the exit of the final of the hairpin, he went into the wall and into the grass as well, so that is what lost him a lot of time, and now he's outside top 10, and I think he's fortunate enough to not sustain any damage because of that, but he has lost quite a few positions with that, and he's out of the fight for P7 right now, which is still led there by Gax, Martin and Danny Boy, he's on the hard, so you'd expect him to be quicker at this stage of this race. At the moment he's still staying behind there in P9. Who knows if he's going to be able to get ahead on the final 3 laps. From lap 26 of 28. We're in the very last stages of this race, and Emils, he is very close to the back now of President Lead, closer than he's ever been in this race, apart from that overtake right before the first pit stops. But the gap is around 4 or 5 tenths of a second as we go onto the back straight once more for the penultimate lap. President Lead had a bit of a moment on the exit as well, starting to feel the tire wear as well, as the gap is 5-6 tenths of a second, using some battery to maintain his position over Emils. Gap is now around 8 seconds again as Atlas Copus he's in P3, 2 seconds, and the gap towards Langfeld is 2.5, so I think if Atlas Copus doesn't make any mistake, he should be able to bring home that P3 finish, which he has been in a position for the entirety of this race as well. So Electrodan goes up the inside there of Melnus, who gets forced off track a little bit there, and Melnus is now down to P6 as the McLaren gets his elbows out once more in this race and now sees himself up into a P5 position. And will he be able to challenge Langfeld as well? Despite having the mediums, despite having the worst tires, he's still out there fighting it out with the 2 Mercedes drivers for P4 and P6. Has half a look there up the inside of turn 2, but there wasn't really a gap for him to go to. But now on the exit, looking for a potential better exit. Bit of a moment there for Langeville, and the McLaren driver is going to use the battery. He's going to pull to the outside into the braking zone off turn 60. Turn 60. He has to go all the way around the outside later on the brakes, and Langeville unable to really defend successfully. So Electrodan will have the inside line there for turn 7 and 8, and I think that sees the McLaren ahead. And Electrodan, yes, he is up at the P4.
It's been a very good racer from Electrodan. He's been involved in so many battles in this race, running that chrome livery as Lord by the Top G isn't. So looks like Electrodan has been to Los Contos as Oh, I messed that joke up. Oh, in the background there's a spinner! And that is Molnus. We just saw him at the exit of turn 6. He just went very deep as he rejoins on the track. And here comes the Haas now, looking for it. It's been such a good race for Molnus, but his speedy compound tyres are starting to kill the ghost, unfortunately. And now he's involved in this midfield scrap. Here comes Gags. Gags has run such an incredible race too. And here comes Lord by the Top G, Lord Danny Boy, sorry, who goes around the outside there. Sorry, Lord by the Top G used to be the Sauber last season. Electrodan and Lord Langfell, who goes now up into P4 ahead of the McLaren driver. And here comes Lord Danny Boy once again as we head down into towards the break. So 2x2, and that's Gags who has the inside line, surely remains in P6 there as Danny Boy can't do the under and over. And Martin as well looking for a better exit but has massive wheel spin. Here comes Molnus back on him as he goes up into P8. It is the last lap of the Grand Prix, and all eyes to the front to see who wins this Grand Prix, as Martin will look at him for the time being to see what he does. He goes past with the DRS open against the Mercedes driver as we head through turn 1 and turn 2 with contact, and once again Molnus ends his misery, unfortunately, as we now watch the top 2 then battling for the Grand Prix. Mills, let's just say, his personal best in the first sector, so he's really pushing but has made a mistake out of turn 6, and considering he's been so passive, so patient as well, but has he left it too late to attack him? Because President Lee knows that Mills is saving to the last lap of the Grand Prix, so he can repent it, counteract it, and also save the battery himself. The gap is 0.5 of a second here. It is getting closer and closer between the top 2. Remember what happened last season in Division 1? It was Hazara versus Nordus, and unfortunately Nordus lost it on the line because Hazara did a switchback on the final corner. Could we see the same thing here as well? We exit the most critical part of the track in towards 13. The DRS will be wide open. President leads will go defensive. Here we go with the rear wing open in the slot gap there. Mills is getting closer and closer, but will it be close enough as we head down into towards 40? President goes defence for the inside, but there's no send there from Mills. Well, President goes deep in the breaker, so no, he won't. He stays on the track there and stays on the racing line. So in Mills, I dare say, wasn't aggressive enough as we head towards the final corner. Here comes President Lead then, and for the first time this season and in Division 2, he comes across the line to win the Chinese Grand Prix. Fantastic from the Haasman there as Mills finishes in second place as Atlas Copra gets his first podium since season 16. Amazing drive as Langfell finishes in P4 ahead of Electrodan as well for good measure. Here comes Gags KK, who did an outstanding job today to finish in P6. He's been under the radar so far and kept himself out of trouble, and he deserves a good P6 as well. Very good drive from this man. I think one of my drivers of the days for sure, Gags in P6, because he's done such a great job and he has been quiet and he's showing some really good pace as well. So I think he had a difficult qualifying outside the top 10. Let me just check. I can't check it right now, but yeah, it's a great job of him in P6 there as well. I think he's one of the drivers that kept it clean for the whole race as well, along with President Elite and in Mills. But that's what happens sometimes. You follow somebody throughout the whole race and it doesn't go your way, because I know that's what he was doing. He wants to stay behind him because he knows that nobody's attacking from behind, so he can play the cards. He has all the cards up his sleeves by staying in P2, hang on to the back of his DRS and attack on the last lap. And sometimes we've seen in the past as well, it doesn't always happen, last lap attack as well, because the guy ahead can save the battery because he knows what he's doing. So he just saves the battery and used it all down the straight and managed to keep ahead as well. And Mills didn't really save a lot of battery as well. He had to push really hard sometimes to stay within the DRS. He drained his battery and he got left exposed on the final lap too, and he couldn't save it. But look at that, Milan. 1, 2, 3 stay as they are since qualified as well.
Yeah, quite impressive despite having a late safety car in this race, but great drive there from President Lead, very well managed from him and a very well deserved victory as well. So both Haas drivers with a great race, with Gags in P6 from 11th on the grid, stayed clean just like his teammates. So it's been a great race in fact. And Mills in P2 will be satisfied with that, but maybe a little bit disappointed that he wasn't able to get President Lead in these final stages of this race. And Atlas Copra will be delighted with his first podium as well. So it's been a great race despite the top 3 finishing in the same order as they started. But either way, we've seen plenty of action, plenty of chaos as well in this race, and it sure was an entertaining one. An entertaining one once again.
It was indeed. I believe that's our third race winner, different race winner this season. I think we've had Emils, we've had Magnus, and now, plus the lead, the Swedishman who beats the Norwegian, and he wins his first race as well. Congratulations, because last season was a big struggle for him as well. Had great pace, but he got himself in a bit of drama as well, and a bit of animosity between each driver as well for him. He had a lot of heat on his name last season, but hopefully he's kept it clean this time, and keeps it clean too. And it was a bit of a struggle for him because last season everybody lost motivation. People weren't attending either, but hopefully it's a lot better too as he keeps his cool and continues to show some good pace. But yeah, that's it then from us. As our usual, we're not usual commentators, me and Milan Langer, but I really hope we are because it's it's such a great race. But unfortunately, me and Milan have a bit of a break from somewhere else, and when it starts up again, we won't be here. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to commentate for you guys again. It brings back so many memories as well, being a former Division 2 commentator for the past 3 seasons. I do miss you guys a lot, but unfortunately I've got other commitments as well, and it's really difficult, I must say, to commentate for 2 divisions in the same league. I did 3 divisions, and that was a stretch as well. That really messed up my brain. It really, it just took a lot of time. It was time consuming, it was difficult, and I just had no rest whatsoever as well, especially my voice when I needed the most, especially when it comes to the Netherlands as well. But Milan Langer, thank you so much, mate. You've been excellent as always, and despite your first time in Division 2 this season, your commentating was absolutely amazing, mate. I love your insights, I love your inputs as well. Thank you so much, mate. You're always a great asset to wherever we go.
Thank you very much, and you were great once again, even though we had some internet issues during the race. I think we did well to go around it. But yeah, it was great to be back here in SFR for one of our appearance, at least in Tier 2. Might be back here potentially at the end of the season for Div 1 if I'm lucky, but that's something we will see later down the line. But yeah, it was incredible once again, and thank you as well for this, as it was really good fun.
Yeah, thank you very much as well. Division 2, thank you for having us as well. I really hope that we get to be sort-out commentator for you guys, because you guys deserve a commentator. I know behind the scenes we are struggling right now for Division 3 and Division 2 because of all the mess behind the scenes in Season 17. There's a lot going on behind the scenes you drivers don't see, and we do need to sort it out as well as league itself. The organisation needs to be better, and hopefully you guys get a commentator you deserve, because I know you guys missed me. I know you guys didn't want me to go at all for Division 2 at the end of last season when I announced my retirement here in Division 2, but that's the way things go, unfortunately, and I will help from time to time. I won't be here all the time, but to the viewers, I think we peaked at 22 viewers watching at a time, so thank you everybody for watching as well. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we move on to the Japanese Grand Prix, the land of the rising sun, the figure of 8 circuits. So thank you very much, guys. We'll see you all at the Japanese Grand Prix for Division 3, Turn 1. And it's goodbye from me and Milan right now. See you all later. Goodbye. And join me back for Division 1 tomorrow at 7:30 as well.